Orange is the New Black is where we dive in. Every episode we'll discuss, even the scenes that made us cuss. So follow me, join the spree. I try to space for 2 E's. Spoilers everywhere, so be warned. Super fans, please come on board. Susie's special mind and all these ideas make us rethink if everything's truly as it is. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Now, oh, 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 oh.
Hello, and welcome to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a rewatch podcast for the Netflix TV show Orange is the New Black. Every Tuesday, I'll be recapping one episode of the show with you, but please keep in mind that this is a rewatch podcast. That means that there may be spoilers about things that happen in the future episodes, so please be warned. This is definitely a spoiler zone. On today's episode of our Orange is the New Black rewatch, we'll be watching Season 1, Episode 3, titled Lesbian Request Denied. IMDb's episode synopsis says, Piper must deal with romantic advances from a fellow inmate known as Crazy Eyes. We're going to see a continuation in this episode of Crazy Eyes developing feelings for Piper. We're going to see what Piper is going to do about that, how she'll react, and how Crazy Eyes will respond as a result. In this episode, we'll also get another backstory. This time, we're getting Sophia Burset's backstory. So we're going to learn more about her life before she came to prison, her life before she transitioned. We're going to see her original crime. We're going to see how her family dynamics come into play. And we're going to see her unique needs in the prison. Her needs are a little bit different than the needs of the other ladies in the prison, but they are her needs just the same. This episode is directed by Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster, I think, is probably more well known as an actress. I know that she's famous for movies like Silence of the Lambs. She's also done some pretty impressive TV directing, including 2 episodes of Orange is the New Black. So we will be seeing her work again. Our writer for this episode is Suzanne Header. She is best known for her writing on Orange is the New Black, actually, and she's written quite a few notable episodes, so we will definitely be seeing her work again as well. IMDb rated this episode a 7.9, same rating they gave the last episode. So again, at the end of this pod, I will give my personal episode rating, and I encourage you guys to go ahead and write your episode ratings in the comments so that we can get an idea of what we the people believe is the actual rating for this episode. Okay, so let's get into the episode. The first thing that we see is actually a Sophia flashback. Now, Sophia Burset is played by the amazing actress Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox is an actress who actually transitioned in real life. She's one of the first trans women actresses who is really well known in the acting world. In this backstory scene for Sophia, we are seeing Sophia prior to her transition. So instead of having Laverne play that part, they opted to have Laverne's twin brother, who goes by M. Lamar, play the part of Sophia prior to her transition. So whenever we're seeing Sophia prior to her transition, we're seeing Laverne Cox's brother, M. Lamar. She was a firefighter. It looks like they just finished fighting the fire, and he's walking through the house. It looks like he's supposed to be taking pictures of the damage, but he's actually going through personal documents like people's passports, credit card statements, and taking photos of that information because it plays a part in his crime. So when his coworker comes in and notices him taking pictures, he tries to play it off, but honestly, he was taking pictures of the credit card statement of whoever's house burned down. So now they're also going to be a victim of identity theft and fraud. So that's just another bad day for them. It's horrible. I feel bad. I think the working theory is that Sophia was doing this in order to make money for her transition. I can feel for her in that way, and that she wanted to become who she truly is, this trans woman that we see today. So she was desperate for the money to do that. But obviously, this is a crime with victims, and I don't agree with going about it this way, but I can understand her desperation in doing so. So back at the fire station, the guys are getting changed, and Sophia goes into a stall in order to, as she says, drain the hose. But in actuality, she's going in there so she can change. When she goes to change her shirt, it's revealed that she has on a lady's bra underneath her clothes. So even at this point, where she's presenting as a male, she's still self-affirming herself. and wearing what she feels most comfortable in underneath her everyday clothes, including her work clothes. Oh, she's got on a matching set of panties too. Okay, Sophia. We see Sophia prior to her transition back at the firehouse. And when she comes out of the stall, she's in the mirror and she's just, as we ladies sometimes do, she's messing with her face and moving her eyes up a little bit and seeing the things that she'd like to change. I think most people do this in the mirror. I know it's definitely a common thing that us females do. So that's what she's doing. She is just looking at her face and trying to see little changes and things that she would do to it to make her more comfortable in her own skin. I love this transition here as Sophia, prior to transition, dips her head down to wash her face in the firehouse. The next time we see her lift her head back up, we see her as her transition self in the prison. It's just a beautiful transition because it goes down and she's male presenting. And when she comes back up, she's female presenting. It's just beautiful. We get to see her putting on her makeup and making herself up for the day, living her truth. I always find it so interesting how these ladies figure out how to do makeup in the prison with very limited supplies. This whole idea of putting the Kool-Aid and mixing it up with Vaseline in order to make lip gloss or lipstick, it's low-key genius, probably tastes pretty good. I think that's a pretty cool thing that they figured out how to do that. When the camera pulls out, we see a full body shot of Sophia. We see her with her completely reconstructed women's breasts. So we know that she was able to get her transition done. So good for her. She's officially who she's always thought that she was. In the next scene, we see Pornstache walking past Piper's room and she's about to change her shirt. As soon as he notices that she's about to change her shirt, he decides to stand post as if he's going to stand here and deliberately watch her change her shirt, which, gross. Yeah, that's disgusting. Piper clearly looks very uncomfortable. Oh, wow. Nice little detail. We see Daya over on her bed reading a book about how to draw manga, anime characters, which is great in keeping with her character trait that she likes art. It's all there from the very beginning. We see Miss Rosa giving herself her medicine for her cancer. So we know that although she is in prison, she does have access to medication, which is great, but she is self-administering it. So it's not like she's going to a doctor in the prison to get her medicine throughout the day. She's doing it herself. So we're seeing the first bit of bigotry within the prison when Nikki complains that Sophia doesn't have time to get her in for an appointment to touch up her roots. DeMarco says to her, "Oh, I wouldn't let that she touch me with a 10-foot pole." Clearly, that's offensive. Also very ignorant and also very bigoted. So we see where the views of some of the people in the prison are with regard to Sophia. None of these things seem to matter to Nikki. She just wants her hair done. Also, she corrects DeMarco and tells her, by the way, Sophia's pole is a hole now. Just so you know, she's all woman. So we hear an announcement over the loudspeaker that says that Watson, Brezhnehan, and Diaz need to go see their counselors because they're about to get assigned their official bunks. Piper's annoyed because she's not getting her assignment yet, and Nikki's annoyed because she's not getting her assignment yet. That's when Nikki explains to us how the different dorms work in the prison. So she says that Diaz is probably going to get sent to Spanish Harlem. That's what they call the area where a lot of the Latinas are. Nikki goes on to inform Piper that she's probably going to be put in the suburbs with the other white people. So the area where a lot of the white people are is called the suburbs. Go figure, right? Piper heads out to the ladies' room. And in there, she sees Leanne, and Leanne's all like, "Hey, you better not be cutting. There's a line here." And Piper's like, "There's a line for the bathroom? I'm just going to the bathroom." That's when Red comes through and she's like, "Listen, kid, go pee. It's fine." So that tells us that not only has Red accepted Piper's apology, but she seems to be in Red's good graces. So that's a great sign. Red continues on right past Piper to the front of the line, cutting everybody else, and says, "This better be hot." So she's going to go ahead, cut everybody in line, and jump in her shower because why? She runs the kitchen and she's the queen of the prison at this point in time, anyways. So when Piper turns to head into the bathroom stall area, she notices Sophia using the bathroom in one of the open stalls with no door. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." And Sophia's like, "It really is no problem. You can look at it. I spent a lot of money paying for it, so you might as well look at it." When she's done, she offers Piper the open stall, and Piper's like, "I'm okay. I'll just wait for a closed stall." Sophia tells Piper she's going to be waiting a long time. Come to find out, Blanca is in the middle stall talking to whoever she be talking to in there. And so Piper's reconsidering. Sophia says she's talking to the devil. That's Satan's doll. Yeah, kind of. Pretty much. Piper's really annoyed, but Sophia tries to put her mind at ease in the best way she can, telling her, give it a week. You'll be pissing and farting with the rest of us. I guess eventually you get used to it and you're able to just do what you gotta do and not worry too much about the modesty of it all. Sophia shows Piper her shower sandals that she made out of duct tape. She's explaining to Piper that she's going to need something better than what she's got because what she's got is not great. Sophia explains that she had to learn how to make these because they don't even carry her size shoe in the commissary. She wears a size 13 and they don't carry a size 13 in the commissary. So she had to figure out how to make it herself. Very ingenuitive. Aw, Sophia's being very kind to Piper, trying to help her figure out the ins and outs of prison. She tells her that if she wants to skip the shower line, the best times to go are at 5 o'clock in the morning or at 5 o'clock in the evening. I guess people are not trying to shower that early in the morning or probably not even around 5 in the evening because it's probably when they're trying to go get food. Good tip, Sophia, good tip. Piper's like, why are you helping me? Why are you telling me all this? And she's like, I guess it's because I fucked up your hair. That shit looks broke. So I guess Sophia feels bad because she did cut Piper's hair and it's not her best work, for sure. Sophia tells her, there's no point in playing shy. You're home, which is true. Might as well get used to it. For now, this is your home, so get comfortable. You'll figure it out, Piper. You'll figure it out. With that, Piper decides to bite the bullet and go pee in the open stall. But that's when Suzanne comes and sees her in the mirror, makes direct eye contact with her. It's definitely uncomfortable. Like, why are you staring at me while I pee right now? That's weird. I love Suzanne, but that's not cool. Don't do that to people. The next scene that we see are Mendez, aka Porn Stash, and Bennett, the new guy, in the guard bubble overseeing the ghetto, aka the black dorms in the prison. Pornstash is talking all the crap about the ladies in the dorms, calling himself giving Bennett a heads up about the ladies, but honestly, he's just crap talking them. When Pornstash points out Sophia, he tells Bennett that's a whole different species. Then he proceeds to call her over and fuck with her. He takes a bite of his Egg McMuffin or whatever kind of sandwich he's eating, puts it to her face, and he's like, can you smell that? Does that smell good to you? And she just says to him, is this McDonald's? This is Mickey D's? He's like, yeah, how long has it been since you've had one of these? Taunting her, no? And she's like, it's been a long time. So he says to her, do you want some? She says, are you offering me a taste? To which he says, you can suck it out of my dick. And honestly, Sophia responds to that with, I don't do sausage in my breakfast sandwich. So as you can see, Pornstash is completely inappropriate with these women. Luckily, Sophia is able to counteract what he's doing. She can hold her own, but she shouldn't have to. As soon as he sees she can hold her own, that's when he flips on her and goes, what the fuck are you doing inside the CO bubble? Bro, he's a psycho. He tells her, your foot's over the line, Burset. You better get back before I give you a shot. Like, he didn't just call her over there in the first place to taunt her and mess with her. It's really disgusting the way these guards treat the ladies. Bennett looks like he's a little bit disturbed by what he saw, but instead of calling it out, he just goes along with it and says, yeah, that's so weird. It's freaky. Pornstash is there talking about how he bets Burset has a perfect pussy. And Bennett's like, wait, you're not telling me that you'd hit that. Pornstash is like, listen, I live in the present, okay? Not the past. I don't care what she used to have. I know what she's got now, and I'm good with that. Good to know. Pornstash is open to that. So even though he's a complete jerk, he's at least fluid in one area of his life. His logic is she used to have a dick, so she probably knows what it likes. Not bad logic, I suppose, but it's really probably the most demeaning way you could put that. What a weird person. Pornstash asks Bennett, what do they do about sex back when he was in Iraq? And Bennett says, I wasn't in Iraq, I was in Afghanistan, but also there wasn't really a lot going on there because if we were to have sex with the ladies in the village, they would get rocks thrown at them until they died. Basically, they would get stoned for being raped by the military guys, which there's so much wrong with that situation there. They're being raped and they're being stoned and punished, killed for that, as if the rape wasn't punishment enough and horrible enough of an experience to go through. It's just not a great situation. But this is how we find out that Bennett is a veteran and he did serve in Afghanistan. Porn Stash tells Bennett that all of these offenders want a piece of me. You know why? The fucking pheromones, man. Okay. Porn Stash tells Bennett, you get them all locked up like this for a long time and they get this prehistoric yearning for man stink. Oh my God. Disgusting. Okay. He says, I'm musty and they love it. Bennett asks Porn Stash, so do you actually sleep with them? And Porn Stash is like, hell no. Like, let me be by the book right now. No, of course not. That's against the rules. In the next scene, we're seeing the prison doctor give out meds to the inmates who need them. The first inmate that we're seeing is an older lady, and she's getting treated practically like an animal because she's having her tongue lifted and her mouth checked after she takes her medicine as if she's not capable or trustworthy to swallow and keep her medicine down. But then we're also seeing Boo get her medicine, and she's complaining because she's got a different medicine than she normally gets. And the next person that we see is Sophia, and she's telling the doctor, what is this? These are not my pills. To which he tells her that the whole prison is going generic, so these are her new pills now. Sophia asks the doctor, what's the dose on the generic pills? And the doctor tells her that it's 0.5 milligrams. And she's like, well, that's not enough. I need 4 of those. So she needs a pill that's at least 2 milligrams. And they're only giving her a quarter of that, which is poor healthcare. Sophia's saying, hey, but like, you can't just change my dose. And the doctor is telling her, you need to talk to your counselor. I don't control the doses. That seems really counterproductive. How are you the doctor and you don't control the doses? How is a counselor the person who dictates the doses for the inmate's medication? That seems really off, but that's the way it's working in this prison. So Sophia takes her medication because I guess some is better than none, but it's not enough. In the next scene, we see Janae. She's been assigned a new bunk, and it turns out that her new roommate is Miss Claudette, who we see completely laying down the rules, dictating what will and will not happen in her bunk. Janae is going to be expected to live by Miss Claudette's rules, which I don't think that's going to work out too well. Exactly. Janae doesn't let Miss Claudette get too deep into her rules before she cuts her off and she's like, listen, old lady, I sleep whenever I want, okay? And she's like, I don't know what busted ass country you come from, but this is America. And if I want noodles, I'm going to eat noodles. So you're going to deal with that. That's definitely not a roommate match made in heaven. In the next scene, we see Chapman in line to change out her orange uniform for her regular khaki uniform. Nikki's like, oh, it's time to peel that orange, Chapman. You're about to be one of us. When it's Piper's turn at the window, she's face to face with Alex. Alex is picking out Piper's new prison shoes, and she says to her, so you're a 9.5, right? Piper says, actually, it's a 10. Alex decides to be snarky and says, oh, did your foot swell up when you went back to boys? And Piper's like, you know what? Fuck you. Leave me alone. And she just walks away. She's just done. In the very next scene, we see Mr. Healy complaining to Fig about the medication dosage changes. He's telling her, you cannot just change these girls' pills. I have a line of girls complaining about blood pressure pills. He's like, half the prison is on antidepressants. If you take away their Zoloft, they're going to go off the rails. These women need their meds. What are you doing? He's like, it's going to be a monumental pain in my ass because he's the counselor. He's going to have to deal with all of that. To which Fig is like, listen, I got enough on my plate. I'm really not concerned about this. Another example of bigotry in the prison. Again, the show uses words that I don't use in my regular life and I don't believe are right to be using. I believe they are offensive, but I will use them in the context of the show. Whenever it's being referenced in the show, I will use the word. So Mr. Healy is showing his bigotry here when he says, I've got a tranny camped out in my hallway yelling about her hormones, meaning Sophia is on Mr. Healy's behind, trying to find out what's going on with her hormones and trying to get her medication the way she's supposed to. Even Fig responds with, he can suck it up. And then she corrects herself to say, she, Jesus. Like it's such a big inconvenience for her to use the correct pronouns. It's really not that hard, people. Respect people's pronouns. It's not that difficult. Fig explains they're only required to give Sophia the minimum mandatory amount of hormones to maintain. They don't have to give her enough hormones to keep her girlish figure, as Fig says. And then Fig says, why would anyone ever give up being a man? Which, yeah, I think that's actually a really insensitive thing to say, especially regarding somebody who's transitioned not because of some frivolous reason, because they like makeup or whatever the case, but because it's who they feel they are on the inside is not matching with who they are on the outside. That's a much deeper thing than some frivolous idea of why somebody would give up being a man. She goes on to say, being a man is like winning the lottery and giving the ticket back. I think that's a deeper conversation that we probably could have maybe in the Discord. We can talk about it, get into it. You actually can sign up for exclusive access to our Discord through Patreon. Just look us up on Patreon, Yadda Space with 2 E's. You will find the Yadda Space pod. Our Back to Litchfield show will be right there. And with that access, you will be able to get the information to access our Discord. On Discord, we will have exclusive content and some watch parties, more in-depth discussions, both on video and mic and also just in the chat. So you hop on over to Patreon, look us up at Yadda Space, and you will find our Back to Litchfield pod right there. Sign up and join us over on the Discord, where we can have those more in-depth conversations. In the next scene, we see Piper running around the track. She looks so happy to be outside in the fresh air doing something sort of normal, something that she could be doing on the outside, and she's able to access that on the inside. Probably brings her a little bit of normalcy. So she looks completely at peace. That is until she hears Suzanne running up behind her talking about, "Hello, baby." Oh, Suzanne. Suzanne has a crush. Suzanne tells Piper that she's a real woman. She don't like wasting her time with these silly bitches around here. She likes Piper because she's a real grown woman. And Piper's like, well, I'm sure that you'll find one. Not me, please, not me. Suzanne's like, yeah, whatever. I wrote a poem. You want to hear it? And Piper's like, no, that's fine. I really don't want to hear it. I'm good. Suzanne starts her poem, of course. She says, before I met you, the sun was like a yellow grape, but now it looks like fire in the sky. Why? Because you light a fire inside me. And then she just like sits back for like applause. I don't know what kind of reaction she was waiting for, but she sat back like, let me let that simmer for a second. Yeah, I know that was some hot stuff. Let it simmer. And we get a GIF there. That GIF, we see that GIF all the time online. Suzanne doing that, yeah. Piper's just like, wow. That's pretty much all she can muster out is wow. Suzanne tells Piper, I wrote that for you. To which Piper says, very subtly, my fiance, he's a writer, you know. Just throwing out there a little hint, I'm engaged. I have a partner. I am not interested. Suzanne's not getting the hint. She goes on to say, I'm going to call you Dandelion. And that's where we get Piper's little nickname that becomes a classic, Dandelion. Suzanne tells Piper that she wants to call her Dandelion because they're pretty and yellow just like you, which is sweet when you think about it. That's when a guard yells out to them and tells them to come off the track. And Piper's like, why? What do you mean? I'm in my happy place. Why are you taking this from me? And the guard tells her, we're closing down the track. Budget cuts. We have no staff to cover it. So one of the very few amenities that the women have access to is now getting closed down because of budget cuts. What kind of budget does it take to run a track? He says that they don't have staff to cover it. So I suppose it's staff wages that are being cut, but still, it doesn't seem like it would take that much to keep the track open at least a couple hours a day for the ladies. It seems a little bit inhumane to me to close it. Piper tells him almost desperately, she's saying, I have to run. This is the only thing that makes me feel normal. And I am not a Piper fan, but I almost feel bad for her here because the one thing that makes me feel normal, that's what you're taking away right now. I feel bad for her. This is when the guard tells her, listen, y'all are going to have to do your little swirl someplace else. To which Piper's like, swirl? What are you talking about, swirl? That's where we get our classic line from Suzanne. She grabs Piper's hand and she's like, chocolate and vanilla swirl, swirl. I don't know how Piper didn't laugh there. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. It's funny. That's why this show is a lot of bit drama and a little bit of comedy. It's genuinely very funny sometimes. In the very next scene, we're in Mr. Healy's office, and he's explaining to Sophia that the bottom line is that the prison can no longer supply high-end hormones. So Sophia's like, okay, That's great for you guys, but if I don't get my medication, I'm going to go through withdrawal. She explains that she'll have hot flashes, she'll have night sweats. She's saying that her face will sag, her body hair will start to grow back. Sophia explains that when she had her testes removed, they also took out her testosterone. So she literally has zero testosterone. Sophia is explaining that if you take her estrogen from her, she doesn't even have any testosterone to replace that. She's going to be in a hormone deficit. To which Healy is throwing up his hands like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do with that. So Sophia tells him, I want to see a doctor. Mr. Healy explains, you can't go to the clinic unless it's an emergency. And she's like, it is an emergency. And he's like, yeah, we don't see it that way. To which Sophia looks like, oh yeah? And she sits there for a moment. Mr. Healy says, is there something else? To which Sophia says, yes. Grabs one of his little bobbleheads off of his desk, swallows it, and says, I'd like to report an emergency. You don't want to take me seriously? You don't think this is a valid emergency? Guess what? I'll make an emergency and I'm still going to go down and see the doctor because I need to see the doctor. Like I said, what I said is basically what Sophia is saying right here, having her Nini moment. In the next scene, we're in the cafeteria and Janae is complaining about her new bunkie, Miss Claudette. Piper tries to pipe in like, oh, wow, you got to sign what bunkie you in, as if they're friends. And Janae just looks at her like, girl, why are you talking to me? I guess they're not friends, even though Piper feels like since we came in together, we're friends, right? No, I guess not. Burset tells Janae she better be careful with Miss Claudette because she tells her that woman is no joke. Tacy tells Janae word is that Miss Claudette killed someone and that's why she's doing so much time. So they don't really know why Miss Claudette's in prison, but they feel like she's in prison for murder because she's been there for so long. Janae is like, I'm not scared of her. And Tasty's like, well, you should be. Tasty tells Janae that there's a rumor that when Miss Claudette was down the hill at Max, she threw a pot of boiling water in her bunkie's face. They said that she burned her eyelids off. To which Janae very indignantly just responds, well, so what? Let her come at me. Like, what are you going to do, Janae? You're going to fight this old lady? Stop. Stop it. Burset says that the word on the street is Miss Claudette hasn't had a visitor in 10 years because she refuses to do a strip search. So that makes the prisoners wary, thinking that she might have a weapon or something on her. And then Burset goes on to say that Miss Claudette hasn't dookied the whole time she's been in prison. Come on, girl. What is with all of the urban myths about Miss Claudette? She's got a lot of lore to her. Piper is just listening in on them and laughing along with them, really enjoying herself and enjoying their company until Janae looks at her like, what are you looking at, white girl? Like, why are you laughing with us? And Piper looks real self-conscious and she just looks down like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I know I'm not really in this, but I don't know. She seems very much entertained by them in their conversation. Like she wants to be down, but she can't in this environment. She can't be down with them like that. So when they get off the line, the black girls all go sit together and Piper's looking around like, oh, I guess I can't sit with them. And she's not seeing any of the white girls that she knows in the cafeteria. So she sits down at a table by herself. That's when Alex sits down right across from her. She has a tray of food and she says, I had to rub Red's feet for this, 45 minutes. So that's how Alex got out of her beef with Red. She was able to get out of it and get fed again by rubbing Red's feet. So Red is really good on the pampering. She really likes getting pampered, and she will extort people to do so. Piper tells Alex that she can't sit there. Alex is like, how long are you going to do this? Like, we both live here. We have to interact. We have to deal. Piper's like, no, we don't. I can ignore you the entire time we're here. I don't need to talk to you. You don't exist in my world. Alex says, get over it. We both did illegal shit and we both got caught. Piper looks up at her like, listen, you stole my life. Maybe you got caught, but you did not have to bring me down with you. And I agree. I don't understand why she had to name Piper. Piper did one thing one time. I feel like Alex did not have to take Piper down with this. But if she didn't, we wouldn't have this story. So sorry, Piper. You're going to have to do your little time. Piper says to Alex that she stole her good life and she needs her to stay the fuck away from her. That's when Suzanne comes and sits down right next to Piper and she's like, is there a problem here? And Alex is like, no. Suzanne's like, so are you bothering my friend here? Like, do we have beef? Is there a problem? Suzanne strokes Piper's hair and she's like, Dandelion, is she bothering you? Piper's like, yeah, you know what? She is bothering me. To which Suzanne says to Alex, well, then you need to be on your way because she don't like talking to you. Not one bit. Which reminds me of the Joker in The Dark Knight when he's like, not one bit. That's the same energy that Suzanne is giving here. Alex looks at Piper like, are you kidding me? Is this really going on right now? And Suzanne's like, yeah, move, bitch, get out of the way. Move it along. You're not welcome here. Suzanne's like, this is my wife, so you need to step off. Piper's like, wait. I'm not actually your wife. But Suzanne is already off the rails. And she's like, listen, I will cut you, bitch. Suzanne is gone. She is off the rails. And she is just like, yeah, I'm defending the person that I care for in this moment. That is Piper. And you are hurting the person I care for. So now I will hurt you. And that's because Suzanne has a heart of gold. Suzanne is a wonderful character. She does things a little over the top at times, but her heart is usually in the right place. That's when Suzanne throws her pie at Alex and she says, don't make me cut you. She's hitting herself in the head. She's having a full out meltdown right now. She's like, do you know where the fuck you at, bitch? You don't know me. You don't know me. Suzanne is really going off on Alex. The whole cafeteria is in an uproar. Everybody's getting a kick out of Suzanne going off. She's not hurting anybody, but she's definitely got the attention of the cafeteria right now. Piper is looking around almost in disbelief, like, oh my God, I can't believe that A, she did that, and B, like, I got her to do that. She even has a look of almost like, wow, she did that for me. When the guard comes over and he's like, all right, y'all need to chill out. Suzanne's like, it's all right. We're all good. We're good. Everything is fine here. We good. She gives her little symbol to show the guards that she's okay. She doesn't need to be sent to psych. She's fine. They good. They see eye to eye. No problem. Once things calm down, Piper again says to Suzanne quietly, by the way, I'm not your wife, which is where we get a classic Suzanne line. And she says to Piper, I threw my pie for you. Actually, yeah, you are. You are my wife. That's how it works around here. In the next scene, we see Sophia at the doctor's office. The doctor's explaining to her that the head that she bit off should pass through her body in the next 3 to 5 days. So they're not too worried about that whole situation. They're like, basically, you're going to poop it out eventually. Don't worry about it. The doctor goes on to tell Sophia if it doesn't pass in a week, they'll consider surgery. So if it doesn't pass in a week, it's not even like surgery is a guarantee. It is a consideration. They still might not do surgery, which does not seem like very good healthcare to me. Sophia finally cuts to the chase with the doctor and she tells her, listen, I've given 5 years, $80,000 and my freedom for this. I need my dosage. I need my hormones. She's like, I'm finally who I'm supposed to be. Do you understand how important this is? Oh man. That's when the doctor shows Sophia a chart that basically states that if she continues her hormones, she might be doing further damage to her liver, which is shocking to Sophia. What's even more shocking is that the doctor tells her that they're actually going to be taking her off of her hormones completely until they can schedule an ultrasound, which in the prison, who the heck knows how long that's going to be. That's when the doctor tells her, I can offer you an antidepressant. I know this is about to be bad and I'm putting you in a bad spot. So here, let me give you another pill so you can deal with your mental health in that way rather than actually getting the medical attention that you need. These doctors are crazy. In the next scene, we're in a Sophia flashback. And it looks like she's just been shopping. She's trying to find her style in her new feminine body. I think this is the first time that we're meeting Sophia's wife, Crystal. Crystal is here critiquing Sophia's style. Sophia is new to this life as a woman, and so she's trying to figure out who she is. In this new, more authentic version of herself, she wants to figure out how she wants to present herself to the world. Sophia is frustrated with her style choices because she's got these little cutesy things on. To which Crystal's like, you look like Hannah Montana. And she's not wrong. She's got on this little bedazzled shirt and a little jean skirt. Sophia's like, well, I don't know. It's really frustrating because I never really got to be a teenage girl, which is true. I guess if she would have gotten the chance to be a teenage girl, she would have already figured out her style. She would have already made these silly little styling mistakes. And so she wouldn't be going through this as an adult woman, but here we are. She's got to go through it now and figure it out. Crystal is very supportive and she's telling her, you'll never be a teenage girl. You should be dressing like a classy grown-up lady. Like, I'm sorry that you missed that portion of your life, but right now, you need to dress for this moment of your life, and that is like a classy grown-up lady. Good advice, honestly. I'm sure it is a loss that she didn't get to have that phase of teenage girldom, but here we are now. Let's dress for the now. Sophia liked that though. She says to Crystal, "Oh, so you think I'm classy?" To which Crystal says, "I can't have my husband walking around like a $2 hooker." So we see here that they have a nice, friendly, playful relationship, that they are still married, even though Sophia has transitioned. Crystal very gently and very kindly helps Sophia to put on one of her dresses, and Sophia is like, you don't have to do this. Crystal just ignores her, continues to help her. She tells her that she looks really classy. Sophia looks in the mirror and she's like, I look hot. So she's very much liking this vibe. This is where we find out the one part of the transition that Crystal's having a hard time with. Crystal asks Sophia to please keep it. And Sophia's like, oh, Crystal. Sophia already knows what she's talking about, but we don't just yet. Crystal goes on to say that she's fine with the rest of it. She's fine with the hair. She's fine with the makeup. Like, she's adjusting to the transition, but she just really wants Sophia to keep her penis. And Sophia's like, you know that I can't do that. Crystal says, for me? Can you keep it for me? Sophia turns to her and she's like, listen, you don't have to stay. But Crystal's like, well, where am I supposed to go? This is my family. You're my family. Sophia tells Crystal that she got her a little something at the store as well. Crystal's like, yeah, well, I'm up 10 pounds, so I can't try it on, but, sort of getting down on herself. That's when Sophia's like, you're perfect. She comforts her and they enjoy a kiss together. So you can see that even though they might not be compatible in their sexuality anymore, they still have a very loving relationship. Of course, it's in the middle of this kiss when Sophia and Crystal's son comes downstairs and sees them kissing together. He walks off. He looks frustrated, aggravated, like, this is so weird. He just walks off really angrily. I'm sure all of this is very confusing to him. He looks to be like maybe 12 or 13 years old. I'm sure having your dad transition and all of that is probably a lot of change for a very sensitive time in a young boy's life. In the next scene, we see Piper standing at the phone bank in the prison. I think this is the first time that we're seeing the weeping woman. I think throughout most of the show, we're going to see her constantly crying on the phone. We get little tiny bits and pieces of her story throughout her time on the phone here. We try to piece together, like, why is she so sad? Why is she always crying? Unfortunately, we never get a full backstory on her, which really sucks because I think a lot of us were interested in what the heck was going on with her. So anyways, we know her as the Weeping Woman, but her actual name in the prison is Emily German, and she's played by an actress named Tamara Torres. So shout out to Tamara Torres and your portrayal of the Weeping Woman, such a quote-unquote small part, but plays a big role in the Orange is the New Black lore. Shout out to you, girl. So Piper is on the phone here with Larry. You know how much I love Piper and Larry moments. Not. Piper is complaining that Larry isn't going to be coming to visit with her mother this week. And Larry is explaining that he promised to help her brother fix the roof of his trailer this weekend. So that's why he's not going to be coming. Piper's like, but I need a buffer, which I get that. I definitely get that. With a difficult mom, sometimes you feel like you need a buffer. I totally feel you on that, Piper. Larry says to Piper, listen, I can't cancel. He's practically living under a tarp. And Piper's like, Jesus, when is he going to get his shit together? To which Larry says, I'm not sure that Cal gets the family fuck up title anymore. Like, girl, remember where you are. I'm pretty sure that you are the one that needs to get her shit together at this point. You're in prison. I'm sorry. This Larry and Piper conversation and their attempt at phone sex is just not interesting to me at all. They have zero chemistry. Zero. I'm glad that Larry was cast because by Jason Biggs being attached to the show, he was able to shine some light on the show and bring some star power to it so that these ladies could shine. But, oh my God, I cannot with this storyline. In the next scene, we see Daya. She's in her new bunk and she's hanging a piece of her artwork up on the wall. Maria is sitting behind her, very pregnant, and she's like, you're not allowed to put stuff on the walls. To which Daya's like, everybody has stuff on their walls, not just me. Which is true. I don't know why Maria's being such a hater right now, but Maria says, officer, and she calls over Bennett. Bennett's like, what's going on over here? Maria says, tell her she's got to take that ugly shit down. Like, why is she trying to get Daya in trouble? That's wild. Don't be a hater. But Bennett looks over at the artwork and he's like, did your kid draw that? To which Daya's like, No, I did. So Bennett says, "Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't mean to play her or anything." But she's like, "No, no, no. I get it. I messed it up a little bit, but yeah, I did that myself." No, Bennett says, "No, it's nice. I didn't mean anything by it. It's actually really nice. It's really cool that you can draw. It's art." And Maria, again, the hater right now. Maria's like, "So you're gonna allow that shit?" Bennett gets a real serious look in his face and he looks directly at Maria and he says, "She can leave it up." Boom, I said it. And what are you gonna do about it? Nothing. Because I'm the guard. I'm in charge here. Feeling himself a little bit. So this is a real blatant example of Daya being shown preferential treatment by Bennett, which I feel like it's really dumb of him to show the favoritism in front of other inmates, but that's what he did. So now Maria knows, okay, so Daya's got him wrapped around her finger. Maria's like, okay, well, if that's cool for her, I'm going to put my pictures up of Kanye, which Kanye, shout out old Kanye, we miss you. In the next scene, we're seeing Piper having a visit with her mother in the visitation room. Her mom's like, "What did you do to your hair?" Because, of course, a mom has to come in and criticize. Piper very matter of factly says, "I had to give it to a transsexual for a weave." And her mom's like, "Interesting. Anyways, your dad sends us love." Like, okay, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to comment on that. That's when Piper's best friend Polly comes over, super pregnant, and she says to Piper, "They didn't even frisk me at the door. This could be a totally fake belly full of drugs. Like, how would they know?" That's when Piper tells her, "Well, nice for you because I get strip searched on the way out. I have to squat and cough." Piper's mom goes on to do what some horrible moms do, and she's comparing Piper to Polly, telling Polly how great it is that she decided to have her baby now and that Piper shouldn't be waiting until her late 30s to have a child because it's going to be so much harder, which, ugh, like us women don't get enough of that crap all the time. Piper says to her mom, "Oh, great, thanks, Mom. That's exactly what I need right now. A reminder of my ebbing fertility. Thanks. I really don't need something else to feel crappy about while I'm in here feeling crappy." Piper's mom excuses herself to go get some snacks, and as soon as she does, Piper slides over towards her best friend Polly, and she's like, "I have a wife." And Polly's like, "What?" Piper's like, "I have a prison wife. Her name is Crazy Eyes and she follows me everywhere." Piper goes on to tell Polly, "She threw pie for me." Like, this is such a major thing, you know? Polly's like, "Did she rape you?" And Piper's like, "No, she didn't rape me, but she held my hand." Polly says, "Aw, that's sweet." And then she goes on and on about Pete. She's like, "I wish Pete would hold my hand. He always says that it makes his hands too sweaty." Then she goes on about him in birthing class. She starts spiraling about herself, which she tends to do, which is why I stand 10 toes down saying Polly is a horrible friend, because she is. Piper tries to bring her back to the main topic at hand here. She's like, "Hey, hello, Earth to Polly. I just told you that I have a wife." And Polly says, "I heard you. That really sucks. But you're supposed to be my wife, Piper. I'm freaking out that you're not going to be there for my birth." Like, girl, again, we're flipping it about you. Again, I'm telling you that I have a prison wife. This girl won't leave me alone. She's following me around. And you're concerned because I won't be there for your birth. Yeah, Polly's a horrible friend. So Piper apologizes for not being there for the baby's birth. "I'm so sorry for the inconvenience that presents for you." Piper tries to get some information about the business from Polly. Piper says, "What's going on with the Barney's order? Did we get a warehouse?" Polly sounds totally not into it. She says, "I got a couple of sketchy bids. I haven't really had time to go look." Piper says, "Yeah, well, that's why we hired Mariana." To which Polly says, "Yeah, I fired her." She says that Mariana didn't know how to make a Word document and that she doesn't shave her pits, which both are non-issues. You can teach Word documents and her pits are none of your business. So why are we firing her? Piper's like, "Okay, but why didn't you ask me first? Like, I'm still part owner of this company." Piper's mom backs up Polly and she's like, "Listen, the rest of us have to keep living our lives. It's not like we can just pick up the phone and call you." Which I feel like is a little bit insensitive, especially when we're talking about Piper's livelihood. She's still going to need to have a livelihood after prison. So I think her being as involved as possible while in prison is pretty important and also helps her to stay grounded with things that are going on outside. I think that her mom and her best friend are being extremely selfish. In the next scene, we see Red angrily chopping vegetables. Red also is a little bit bigoted when it comes to talking to Sophia about her transition. Red tells Sophia that if any of her sons tried to do what she did, meaning if any of her sons transitioned from male to female, that Red would chop off their hands before she'd let them get rid of their baby makers. Yeah, Red is very much anti the transition, at least for her sons, which I think is showing a little bit of her bias, which I'm not a fan of. But like I said, none of the characters are perfect. And here's one of Red's flaws. Sophia tells Red that she needs her to bring something in for her. Sophia goes on and says that it's something that's hard to get. She needs estrogen pills or patches. To which Red says, I don't do drugs. I'm not bringing drugs in for you. But Sophia insists it's not drugs, it's medication. Red insists, she's like, listen, I got rules. There's no drugs or anything like that coming through my kitchen. And then she goes on to say, even if I wanted to help you, I don't have connections like that. Red does offer Sophia a yam. Red tells Sophia that her mamushka, her mom, ate those during her menopause. So apparently yams are supposed to help with menopause symptoms, which are basically the symptoms that Sophia is going to be experiencing as she starts to lose her estrogen. So maybe the yams will actually help. Red also mentions that she'll get her some soy. I guess that helps too. But Red says that's the best that she can do. Red tells her, listen, as far as the hormones go, though, that's not going to happen. Not through her kitchen. Sorry, but not sorry. She does give Sophia a little bit of hope when she tells her that there are other channels. And she puts her little finger up to her nose, kind of saying, talk to Porn Stash. He might be able to get something in for you. But we already know how Porn Stash treats Sophia. And I know that's not somebody that she wants to go talk to, but she just may have to. This leads us to another Sophia backstory scene where she's transitioned and she's shopping for sneakers with her son. She's showing him some Jordans, to which her son says that's gay, which, yeah, that phrase was used a lot in the early 2000s and the late 90s. It was used way too much, honestly. And her son is using it in the way that it was used, which basically means they're whack or uncool. But he used that's gay, which is another phrase that we don't really use anymore. Her son says the Jordans are gay and that he likes the LeBrons. So I guess we're seeing a transition from what was cool back when I was a kid, Jordans, to what's cool now for the kids. Sophia agrees to get her some of the LeBrons, but they cost $300. Sophia opens up her wallet and she's got a billion credit cards in there. Her son eyes them like he knows something's up with that. Like, what are you doing with all those credit cards? Well, he doesn't say anything. He goes back to looking at his shoes, and that's when one of Sophia's old coworkers walks in. He's like, hey, Michael, what are you doing here? Because he recognizes Sophia's son. Doesn't recognize Sophia, though. Not at first. When he realizes that Sophia is Sophia, he looks really uncomfortable. Sophia asks her ex-coworker, hey, did you get the letter that I sent you? And he says, yeah, but, and he seems like he's just trying to brush her off and trying to make up an excuse to get out of the store. For some reason, he seems really uncomfortable with the fact that Sophia has transitioned. Sophia looks really sad about that. I'm sure that's a really difficult part of transitioning for people that go through that, realizing that some of the people in their lives who they love or they care about or they've helped build a life with or have been a part of their lives up to this point are not going to accept the change in their new them, which I'm sure it cuts really deep because not only is it a new them, but it's the true them. And if these people are not accepting the true them, how heartbreaking is that? It must be really sad. So I understand her sadness in her eyes here. Sophia's son Michael looks visibly angry, and when Sophia sits down to explain to him that sometimes the transition is hard for people, Michael gets up angrily and just knocks down a stack of sneakers in the store, and he walks out wearing the sneakers he was trying on. So the associate at the store tells Sophia, sir, ma'am, I need you to come pay for those. People in the real world are learning how to respect pronouns, and while they make mistakes, they do try to get it right. Although the associate did make an initial mistake, he did try to make it right. The next scene that we see is Mr. Healy on the computer. It looks like he's trying to reorder another one of those bobbleheads to replace the one that Sophia bit, broke, and swallowed, which is hilarious to me. This little corgi bobblehead is $12, and it's so important to Mr. Healy that he has a replacement, that he's ordering it the very same day. It's just hilarious to me. That's when Piper pops in his office and interrupts him. Piper saying, hey, you wanted to see me? That's when Mr. Healy, looking quite irritated actually, says to Piper, "We do not choose roommates around here." He tells her that this type of hanky-panky is against prison regulations. He says, "I warned you about this when you first came in." And Piper's like, "What are you talking about?" That's when Mr. Healy pulls out a piece of paper and says that Warren, aka Suzanne, just informed him that they wanted to bunk together. Piper is so not trying to bunk with Suzanne that she doesn't even know who Warren is. She says to Mr. Healy, "Who is Warren?" And that's when she realizes, oh, crazy eyes. Mr. Healy says, "Well, it's not gonna fly around here, not on my watch. Lesbian request denied." And that's where we get this week's episode title. Piper says, "Okay, cool, but I didn't have anything to do with that. Just so you know, I don't want to be anywhere near her. This is not me." She's practically begging Mr. Healy, "Please don't put me with her, please. I really don't want to move in with her. I would like to stay as far away from her as possible." Mr. Healy says, "I was hoping that was the case." Mr. Healy refers to Suzanne as a stud, and he goes on to say that she looks like a man, which I feel is very disrespectful. Whose beauty standards are we going off of right now? Suzanne does not look like a man. Mr. Healy's bias is showing. He goes on to say that if it was up to him, he would take all the butch ones and put them in a little boys' wing, separating them from the general community. He says that he ran it up the ladder a couple of times and he's frustrated that it didn't get any traction. Bruh, you can't do that. Mr. Healy advises Piper to let her down easy. He says that Suzanne is volatile and that she was removed from the puppy program, which they had a puppy program? That sounds absolutely adorable. I wish they would have kept that. That sounds like that was probably a really good program for a lot of the inmates. Animal therapy can be extremely therapeutic. Mr. Healy, and his bias, says that lesbians can be very dangerous. He claims it's the testosterone. Bruh, you have absolutely no idea of what you're talking about. And you're saying this to a woman who likes women. So what are you talking about right now? He's absolutely clueless. Oh, great. The next scene is a Piper and Alex backstory. Yay. I'm not a fan of Piper and Alex's love story, but I will cover it on the podcast as much as I need to. I know that a lot of us Orange is the New Black fans are either super pro Alex and Piper, and some of us are super anti Alex and Piper. I tend to lean with the super anti Alex and Piper. I can deal with both of them individually, but like their whole love story, I really don't care. So I digress. Let's get into this backstory scene. So it looks like this is the first night that Alex and Piper meet. Piper is walking into this bar and Alex is sitting there holding court at a table, entertaining a group of women. Everybody's laughing and having a good time. When Piper walks over to the bar, Alex notices her and yells over, "Hey, Laura Ingalls Wilder." She says, "We're escaping America before the apocalypse. You want to come?" And Piper's like, "What? Sorry? What are you talking about?" Come to find out, she's only in the bar because she's trying to get a job. She asked the bartender if they're hiring. But since the bartender says they're not hiring, Piper decides to get a margarita instead because, hey, if I can't get a job, why not get a drink? That's when Alex walks over to Piper and she picks up her resume. I understand this is for a show, but if it was me, I would be like, "Girl, why are you picking up my resume? This is not for you. I do not know you like that." Invasion of privacy, but Piper's fine with it. Alex notices that Piper has Polly listed as her manager. Alex says to Piper, "Nobody puts a Polly in charge. Who the heck is that really?" Which, it's true. First of all, I don't know a lot of Pollys, but second of all, I definitely don't know a lot of Pollys that are in charge of anything. Maybe that's valid. It still seems a little bit prejudgy, but maybe a little bit valid. Piper says, "Polly's just my friend," and they laugh. When the bartender brings Piper her drink, Alex just casually tells him, "Yeah, you can put that on my tab. Don't worry, I got it." So already she is taking care of Piper. That's when Piper finally says, "Who are you?" And Alex says, "My name is Alex." Piper says to her, "What do you do, Alex?" Alex is completely honest. So honest that it comes off like she's joking. But she tells Piper right up front, "I work for an international drug cartel." And then she lets out this great big laugh, which puts Piper at ease and makes her laugh. And they're all laughing like this is this great big joke. But honestly, she was telling the truth. She does work for an international drug cartel. And Piper, you're in danger, girl. Okay, great. Another scene I don't really care about. We have Larry and Cal, Piper's brother. These are two characters that I don't really care about. but they're in Piper's orbit, so I will talk about them as much as I need to talk about them for the story of the show. So this must be the weekend that Larry said he was going to help Cal with his trailer. Applicable bits from this conversation between Cal and Larry. Awkwardly, Cal asks Larry if they get to have conjugal visits when Larry goes to visit Piper, his sister. Like, why are you asking me if I get to bone your sister? That's weird, but also, no, they don't allow conjugal visits in federal. Larry asked Cal, did he ever think that Piper would get in trouble like this? Did he ever think that Piper would end up going to jail like this? And Cal says, I didn't think she'd go to prison, but I did think she'd end up getting into something. Cal goes on to say that Piper wants to feel like she's different. She likes to feel like she's risky. She's this risk taker. Cal calls Piper a complicated cat, and Larry says, so I'm learning. Cal goes on to talk about the roles they play in their family. And again, this is probably something that we can get into even more deeply on the Discord, but he says that Piper was always perfect Piper in their family unit, and that was the role that she played, perfect Piper. Piper did everything by the book. Piper did everything right. But that's not how it turned out. Piper is not perfect Piper, and now that she's in prison, his family is expecting him to step up and be this impressive child of theirs so that they can hold him up in the Christmas newsletter in front of their friends. They want him to play this role that he does not fit. He does not want to play it. It's not him. It's fake. A lot of times in these toxic family units, we are required to play these roles. And sometimes the older people don't want to see that these roles may not fit the people we are today. They certainly don't fit Piper and Cal today. That's for sure. Cal says, Piper going to jail might be like the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Why does everybody in Piper's life make her going to jail about them? That's something to ponder. In the next scene, we see Piper back in prison, and she sees Sophia in the hallway. Piper tells Sophia that she got her a present. She got her the powder foundation in medium dark. Very nice, very thoughtful, very demure. Nice job, Piper. Piper continues on her commissary tour, repaying people back for things that they gave to her while she didn't have anything. So she pays back DeMarco. She pays back Nikki. Piper takes out her new commissary flip-flops and she's like, and these, it's like Christmas. Oh, just the simple joy of having clean, standard flip-flops. The joy that it brings to Piper is amazing. And it's nice to see. That's when Nikki says to Piper, heads up, you got a visitor. Piper turns around to see who's standing behind her, but Suzanne, with a handful of dandelions. Suzanne's like, hello, baby. Piper's like, listen, can I talk to you for a second? They go and they have a conversation. Piper tells Suzanne, hey, I know that you like me. Suzanne cuts her off there. Suzanne says, I don't just like you, Piper. I got feelings, okay? Love feelings. Piper's like, yeah, I got that, but I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, but I can't be your wife. Piper goes on to say, I've literally already promised to be someone else's wife, Larry, my fiance. Piper says, I love him very much, and I'm just not interested in anybody else. Piper's like, it's not personal, but this thing between you and me, this swirl, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. Suzanne looks like she's stuck for a second, like processing. She finally says, I feel you, and walks away. Piper's like, okay, I guess that's good. We shall see. In the next scene, we see Sophia Burset sitting in visitation with her wife, Crystal. Sophia's asking where their son is. Like, where is he? Why is he not with you? Crystal tells Sophia, he won't come. I tried, but he doesn't want to come. Crystal tells Sophia that she looks like shit. And Sophia's like, well, yeah, they took me off my hormones. Crystal's like, why? And Sophia tells Crystal that they're telling her it's because the hormones are causing liver damage. Sophia feels like it's bullshit and that they just don't want to be liable. Sophia says that she doesn't want to have to ask Crystal this, but she needs Crystal to sneak in some hormones for her. Crystal says, how am I supposed to do that? You want me to end up in here with you? I'm not doing that. Our son needs a parent. And I'm not going to get myself mixed up and end up in here with you. No, that's not happening. Crystal is spiraling here. She's telling Sophia how much she goes through on the outside without her, how she's working 2 jobs, how she's trying to raise their son, how They're trying to seize their house because of the fraud that Sophia did. Sophia interjects and says, I never paid any of our bills with those stolen credit cards, so they should not be able to touch their home. Hopefully that's true. Crystal says that she can't show her face in church anymore. She says that her own mother won't even speak to her anymore. Crystal says to Sophia, how fucking selfish can you be? Sophia says, if they take this from me, this would have all been for nothing. And this is where we're starting to see some of the hardship that the people around the person who's transitioned go through. Crystal is saying to Sophia that she married a man named Marcus and she cries for him all the time. She misses the man that she knew, but she stayed and supported the woman that Sophia is. That was a choice that she made, and she meant it. She loves her. She saw the pain that she was in, and she wanted her to be happy in whatever form that meant. Crystal literally says that she knew it was saving Sophia's life. Sophia gets emotional herself and barely gets out the words "it was." She sounds like she's on the verge of tears, to which Crystal goes on and saying, I figured it would be better if my kid had two moms than a dead dad, right? True. I agree. Your son is much better off with his two moms. But Crystal felt like at least Sophia would be around, which would be more than her father ever was. But now with Sophia being in prison, she's not even around. Crystal says to Sophia, I put up with you becoming a woman, which I don't enjoy the language there. I put up with, like you did her some sort of a favor. I don't enjoy the words put up with because she makes it seem as if it was some burden to her when it's something that she completely chose herself. But anyways, Crystal says to Sophia, I put up with you transitioning to become a woman, but I never signed on for a life with a criminal. Sophia promises that she's going to get her shit together and that she's going to make it up to her family, Crystal and her son. Crystal says, you know how you can make it up to me? Do your time, get the fuck out of here so you can be a father to your son. Your son needs you. Just do what you got to do, survive and deal with whatever you have to survive and deal with, but you need to do that and get out of here so you can come and be a father to your son, which I can understand her desperation and that being the most paramount need for her and her son right now. Crystal tells Sophia to man up, which I get the tongue-in-cheek joke here. It's cute. I don't think it's meant to be offensive here. I think it's meant to be cute, which I'll take that. The next scene, we see Janae arrive at her bunk and she sees a bag of her stuff on the floor. She's like, what the fuck is this? And the guard tells her, we're reassigning you. She says to Miss Claudette, are you fucking kidding me? You had me moved? And Miss Claudette barely looks at her. She's like, you about to learn today. Janae is so provocative. She's like, who's running this place? She looks to the guard and says, not you. Very much challenging his authority. The guard says, shut your mouth and get your things. I don't want to hear it. Let's move. As Janae is getting her things, Miss Claudette says to her, watch yourself, little girl. And by the way, this is not America. This is the Litch. And I've been here a long while. Don't mess with me, little girl. I run things around here, just so you know. So the good news is it looks like Piper took Sophia's advice and took her shower at 5 o'clock. However, it also looks like that's the same time that Alex takes her shower. So Alex says to Piper, listen, I'm in here at 5 o'clock just about every day. So if you don't like it, avoid it. That's when Piper says to Alex, you named me. Alex is like, what? And Piper continues, you didn't have to take me down with you. Alex insists that it was not her who named Piper. She says there were 13 other people who were indicted at the same time, that Piper knew all of those people. They all traveled together. It could have been any of them. It was not her. Alex says, and fuck you for thinking that it was. Piper says to Alex, how much time did you get off your sentence for every innocent person you named? And Alex turns around like, innocent? Are you kidding me? You might be able to fool your fiance with that innocent act, but I know you, and you loved it. Alex tells Piper, you just wanted to feel special and bad. In the next scene, we see CO Bennett going through the Spanish Harlem dorms. And he walks up on Daya trying to get her shirt down. She's all tangled in her shirt and her undershirt. It looks like she needs a hand. Or she's looking for attention. One of the two. Either way, Bennett goes over to help her. So Bennett helps her get her shirt down. And she's all giggly and flirty, saying, don't look at my belly. Once he gets her shirt down, he says, okay, you're free. To which Daya looks around and says, yeah, right. In the next scene, we see Piper calling Larry at the phone bank again. And by the way, the weeping woman is next to her. Piper tells Larry, I need you to do something for me and I don't want to talk about it. Piper goes on to say, I need you to find out if Alex Voss named me at her trial. To which Larry immediately tells her that his dad told him that the testimony was sealed. Larry's also suspicious as to why all of a sudden Piper is asking about that. So after Piper puts that on Larry, the next scene that we see, she's finally getting her room assignment. She's going to B dorm. While we were expecting her to be assigned to the suburbs, she's actually being assigned to the ghetto, aka the black dorms. When she gets down to the ghetto, and by the way, I really don't like the name of the ghetto. The Latinas dorm is called Spanish Harlem, which I will take Spanish Harlem because that is a legit neighborhood that is full of Spanish culture, and it's very much an uplifting name for an area. But the fact that the black area is named the ghetto is not very uplifting, not very cutesy. I'm not really a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of how it's portrayed. As soon as Piper walks in, we're seeing black culture, but we're seeing it with this weird music behind it. Like this is all a very stressful thing for Piper and a very bad, scary place to be. When in actuality, the things that we're seeing in this scene are people getting their hair braided, people borrowing blankets, people working out, people cleaning up, doing their grooming. And when Piper turns into her cube, come to find out, her new roommate is Miss Claudette. Miss Claudette gives Piper the same speech that she gave to Janae, except Piper just takes it. She nods her head, yep, I understand. She seems like she's very scared, but very much willing to live by Miss Claudette's rules. As Sophia is walking down the hallway, she walks by a closet where she sees Porn Stash getting head from one of the meth girls in exchange for drugs. That's basically the norm around here. That is how things go down. Sexual favors are done for the guards in exchange for drugs or favors, luxuries. Whatever the inmates need the guards to do usually can be arranged with a sexual favor or two. So Sophia is taking note like, oh my, I guess that's how things work around here. And I guess she's trying to wrap her head around, is that something I want to be a part of? Do I want my hormones that bad? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. In the next scene, we're seeing Sophia's backstory again. This is actually the moment when she got arrested. The police went into her home and arrested her there in front of her wife and her son. We see her son sitting on the stairs watching her being arrested. He's holding the same wallet that Sophia had at the sneaker store. It almost makes me wonder, did Sophia's son turn Sophia in? Did he have a hand in that? Did he know what was going on? I'm actually not quite sure, and I've watched the show many times. I don't think it's said, but I feel like it's almost implied here that the son either knew something was going on or maybe had a hand in turning Sophia in. You guys can write in the comments, maybe we can discuss it on the Discord, what your theories are behind this. What does Sophia's son know about her crime? And did he have a hand in turning his mom in? In the next scene, we see Sophia back in the prison. She's approaching the guard bubble, and Porn Stash calls out her name. Porn Stash says to Sophia, I heard you've been looking for something. To which Sophia says, you got the wrong girl. So I guess she is not interested in doing any sexual favors to get what she needs around here. In the next scene, we see Sophia again in the mirror, just taking the makeup off of her face and grooming herself, almost about to cry as she's starting to pluck the hairs from her chin because her hormones are imbalanced. She's starting to grow hair on her chin again. She's desperately trying to maintain her feminine appearance herself without having to do anything else outside of her character. In the last scene of this episode, we see Piper sleeping in her new bunk across from Miss Claudette when she looks over at the doorway and she sees Suzanne standing there. It is the middle of the night. People are snoring all around them. Suzanne stares directly at Piper, squats, and starts peeing right in the doorway of her bunk, which is A, disgusting, and B, you know Miss Claudette is not going to be pleased about that. So it's causing problems for Piper in two ways. One, in that it's disgusting and clearly her and Suzanne are no longer cool. And two, bringing this drama to Miss Claudette's door is going to possibly make it so that Piper and Miss Claudette are no longer cool as well. So we'll see how this continues to unfold in the next episode. I love how this show ends their episodes. Usually it's done with a song that's funny or tongue-in-cheek to what's going on in the episode or in the last ending scene. This one, the song is literally saying, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, not a single fuck, I don't give a fuck. Which basically, yeah, that is Suzanne's demeanor right now. And I think it's absolutely perfect as we go to our orange screen indicating the end of the episode. So that's the episode. Again, IMDb gave this episode a 7.9. I think I'm going to go a little bit higher on this episode. I think I'll give this episode an 8.3. And that's for a few reasons. Number one, I think that showing Sophia's backstory was incredibly important to the show and incredibly important for society. It was one of the first times that I remember seeing on screen the things that trans people have to go through in order to live their lives as their true, authentic selves. I think that was a really important story to be told, and I think that they did a nice job, and Laverne Cox did an amazing job, as well as her brother. I think that this episode also did a good job of showing us more about Pornstash and just how corrupt he is, and the things that he's willing to do and say to these inmates to get them to do inappropriate things. I think that this episode gave us some good insight into the medical care in the prison and how changes can be made to medications due to budgetary restraints rather than actual medical needs. I also think that this episode did a good job of moving the ball forward with the Suzanne and Piper storyline. We got a lot of fun moments. We got the chocolate and vanilla swirl moment, which is a classic in the show. We got the I threw my pie for you moment, which is a classic in the show. We also got a lot more insight into how horrible the people in Piper's outside life are and how much they make everything about them. They're not really there for her, which can be frustrating. We started to see a little bit more development with the Daya and C.O. Bennett relationship, which we will be keeping an eye on in future episodes. So I think because this episode had so many important pieces to it, it deserves more than a 7.9. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.3. It's not my favorite episode, but it's definitely a solid episode and one that has a lot of important aspects to it. Next week, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 4, titled Imaginary Enemies. IMDb says that the synopsis for that episode is Piper gets to know her stern new roommate, and the inmates prepare for a farewell party. So we will get to see what's going on there. In that episode, we will also get a Miss Claudette backstory. So we will get to know more about her and how she came to be the woman that we know today next week. That's it for this week, guys. Thanks for hanging with me in Yadda Space. Don't forget, comment your favorite lines from the episode and let me know what your personal rating is for this week's episode. Mine, again, was an 8.3. I want to know what you guys think. So that's going to do it for this week. Thanks again for joining me on the journey back to Litchfield. If you aren't already, please make sure you are following the Yadda Space Pod on your favorite podcast platform, YouTube, TikTok, so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, like the theme song says, it's Yadda Space with 2 E's. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll catch up with y'all next time here at Yadda Space.
Hey, welcome friends to Yadda Space. I'm Yadda here, let's set the pace. This is a rewatch podcast, so let's begin. Orange is the new black is where we dive in. Tasty's wisdom sets the tone. Us higher.